I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to Coney Island Yard. I am Demetrius Critchlow. I'm the acting executive vice president for Subways. Coney Island Yard is the largest yard facility that we have, home to the B, N, Q, G, W, and don't forget the Franklin Avenue Shuttle. We have approximately 300 employees that work day and night to make sure the service gets out in and out every day. A fantastic job they do. I'm here with Q, Carmela Arroyo, who's the MTA Chief Accessibility Officer. And I'm also here with the Senior Vice President, Department of Buses and MTA Bus, Craig Cipriano. Today we're marking an important, extravagant anniversary. The 31 years since the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's a time to reflect on how far we've come as an agency to improve accessibility and to look to the future as we create an even more inclusive environment for our transit system. Today we will share some of our new improvements and a preview of what's to come. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Q.
Thank you. Thank you, Demetrius. Our theme today revolves around a new and, dare I say, better MTA. We are not the same agency we were 31 years ago when the ADA was passed. We've made great strides to elevate transit and enhance access to independence for persons with disabilities, notably becoming the first public transit system in America to have a fully accessible bus system. Still, there's much more to be done, and we're not wasting any time. As we rebuild our operations post-pandemic and call back our riders, we'll do so with a new fleet of buses, subways, and paratransit vehicles that reflects our universal definition of accessibility, which includes parents, seniors, and tourists, all whom also have access needs. It's about more than just elevators, though we are making historic progress on that front too. In the last 18 months, the MTA has completed 13 ADA projects spanning 4 boroughs, including 3 in 2021 alone. Earlier this month, we also unveiled the first completed project of the 2020-2024 capital plan, a new ramp at Avenue H Q station here in Brooklyn. And we're currently hard at work on wide-ranging upgrades at 8 subway stations citywide that will result in 17 new elevators total. Every step brings us closer to our goal that no rider is ever more than 2 stations away from an accessible subway station. My mission at the MTA is to show that accessibility and equity are one and the same. New Yorkers deserve the most equitable transit system in the world, and we must do everything we can to strive towards accomplishing that. I want to thank you all for joining us today, particularly our advocates who are standing here behind us, a lot of our ACTA members, and you'll hear from some of them in a second, Dustin Jones, Jess Murray. It is really you and your voice and your work that informs us of the change that we want to see happen at the MTA. So thank you for being here with us. And a special thank you to my colleagues, particularly Demetrius and Craig, who you'll hear from in a second, who share that goal at the MTA for a truly universal and accessible system for all New Yorkers and tourists. Without further ado, Craig Cipriano. Thank you.
Thank you, Q. You know, it's really exciting for me to be here, specifically here in Coney Island Yard. You know, while most people know me as the bus and paratransit guy, back in 1989, I actually started right here in Coney Island Yard working for car equipment and subways. Oh, and there goes my remarks. Give me one second. Somebody was telling me something. So again, thank you, Q. You know, I'm really excited to be here to celebrate the 31st anniversary of the ADA, and I'm proud to lead the largest bus and paratransit operation in all of North America. While we have made significant accessibility improvements over the last few years, I'm here to say we are far from done. We know that accessibility to public transit is vital to the lives of millions of New Yorkers, specifically our bus and paratransit customers. Our customers have shown us just that, as this past year they have returned to our services at a higher rate than any other MTA transportation mode. In fact, paratransit ridership is 80% of pre-pandemic as we speak today. Since 2019, we have replaced 40% of our older diesel fleet with vehicles that are quieter, better lighting, and with climate control, and increased reliability and maneuverability on our city streets. As we move ahead, Paratransit has much to look forward to with the expansion of Broker just this month. And we will have more to say about our e-hail program and our new scheduling systems real soon. And how about buses? We're also working hard on our accessibility improvements to its fleet. As Q just said, all our buses are already fully wheelchair accessible, and under our new enhancements, customers will notice wider doors and more flexible seating options. These new features include 3 new single flip-up seats, and we have a bus here today so we can view those options. We expect to see more than 800 of these buses on our city streets this year and next. And finally, accessibility is not just about the physical access. It's also about the customer service provided by our transit heroes who operate MTA's buses and paratransit vehicles each and every day. So now I'd like to play a short video that highlights a few of the veteran bus operators who have received recent commendations for providing outstanding accessible service. Please play the video.
Riding the bus has been quite different for all of us, but particularly hard for our frontline workers, especially our bus operators, who have been engaging with the public non-stop throughout the pandemic, and continue to do so, really putting themselves and their families at risk to get New Yorkers to where they need to be. And we're always here to provide that service. It's what we do.
Accessible bus service means the freedom to be able to roam freely through New York City as a disabled New Yorker. And that's how it should be for all of us disabled New Yorkers.
Every time I pull up to a bus stop, make sure I pull close to the curb, make sure I kneel the bus, make sure I do to the best of my ability to accommodate anyone.
But I see bus drivers go out of their way to pull up to the curb, and they make sure that I get on that bus safely. That is showing consideration for a customer, making me feel like I'm a valued person and that they care. And this is why a lot of times I have given them commendations.
Think of them as your family, you know? Treat them the way how you would want your family members being treated.
Their life, when they in the bus, their life is dependent on us.
It could be your mother, it could be your grandmother, it could be your brother, your sister, it could be anyone. You want them, to come on your bus. You want them to take them to where they have to go, and you want them to be happy. It doesn't matter who it is.
Thank you. Again, I can't get from point A to point B without them driving, without them showing up for work. So thank you. For those who consistently pull up to the curb so I don't have to feel like I'm in the Paralympics, thank you. For those who put down the ramp without my asking, thank you. For those who say hello back, thank you.
If you see a bus operator who you think deserves accommodation, we'd love to hear from you. Visit new.mta.info/customer feedback. Providing accessible service is a priority for me and this agency. So thank you to our operators who go above and beyond and continue to ensure that transit is for everyone. Thank you. And thank you to our bus, paratransit, and subway transit heroes. So now I'd just like to turn it over to my partner in providing world-class accessible service, Q. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. I am so happy about that video, and I hope every one of our bus drivers sees it. Truly, this past year has been a great challenge for us, but we've done a spectacular job. Craig, thank you so much to you and your team, but a special thank you for your paratransit driver. We saw a lot of changes throughout the pandemic, but New Yorkers with disabilities did not see that access to service waiver. We provided service to them all throughout the pandemic in our paratransit vehicles, where some of us saw our subway stopping, limited hours, and a reduction in service. Paratransit customers were getting where they needed to go. That's not to say that we're not happy that we have the subways back, because the subways are back. And delivering that service is Demetrius, another one of our partners who also carries that that vision and responsibility for accessibility at the MTA. Demetrius.
Thanks, Q. So you may remember a couple weeks ago we unveiled the exclusive, here at the New York City Transit, the R211. A few weeks ago, you saw so many benefits to what this new equipment brings. But there are specific improvements for New Yorkers with disabilities. First, there are the expanded doors, which are now 58 inches wide, 8 inches wider than those of our existing fleet. They'll help speed up boarding and reduce dwell times and provide more room for customers in wheelchairs to board. The R211s have more spacious seating arrangement. The stanchion poles themselves have been moved from in front of the seating areas, which provides more room for our customers with limited mobility to maneuver while they're in the train. The designated ADA locations have been relocated adjacent to the doorways. They're clearly identified both on the floor and on the walls. The A cars, there'll be 2 of them on one side of each of the vehicle, and there'll be a three-person flip-up seat. And when that seat is up, it expands to roughly 54 inches of space. The B cars also have color-coded priority seating for those who need it. The passenger emergency intercom and the passenger emergency handle have been lowered to 46 inches. The new design allows for instructions to use both the passenger emergency intercoms in both Braille and in tactile lettering. Front, side, and ceiling electronic signage all follow ADA guidelines for visually impaired. We began the year-long qualification period on these cars this month. Production cars will begin deliveries in September of 2022, and all 440 cars in the base order delivered by September of 2024. An additional 1,517 cars will be delivered if we exercise both our contract options with Kawasaki. The future is bright, and that expansion could go throughout the entire system. While you may see some of the R211s out in the system now for testing, they won't be going into passenger service until next summer. So mark your calendars. I cannot wait to share some of the new modern onboard experiences. I'm not saying anything about Craig and his bus, but you got to check out the trains. This is a new modern experience for our transit riders, and we're looking forward to it. Now I'll turn it back over to Q.
Thank you so much, Demetrius. I am so excited to get on that subway card. I don't know about y'all. And thank you, Demetrius, for talking about the specific changes that we will see in their subway systems. As New Yorkers ride the trains, they will see new flip-up seats, new definitions to accessibility, because accessibility, again, is a lot more than just elevators. But to help us do our work every day, we rely on our riders, particularly our riders with disabilities, who can tell us what changes they want to see happen, what's not working for them. And I rely on them every day to do my job here at the MTA. We have here today with us 2 stellar advocates that will be speaking on behalf of the community. I'd like to call Leonard Blades up to the podium.
Appreciate it. There we go. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Leonard Blades. I'm the alumni advisor for the CUNY Coalition for Students with Disabilities, and I'm also a proud member of the Advisory Committee for Transit Accessibility, ACTA. On behalf of CUNY's more than 11,000 students with disabilities, I am proud to wish everyone here a happy ADA birthday, where we're able to celebrate Americans with disabilities, access and opportunity, and on this anniversary, the chance to mark our progress. The expansion of subway accessible stations has been critical to the lives of people with disabilities in general, but in particular, CUNY students with disabilities, because equal access to college can only happen if we have equal access to public transportation. And it has been so wonderful seeing the expansion of subways. For example, Hunter College and Hostos Community College, those subway stations are now being made accessible, so it just makes the ease of access that much better. I also want to say personally how grateful I am, and I know a lot of folks will agree, with the Accessoride same-day program, where you don't have to book 24 to 48 hours in advance. It's such an ease of access for a lot of users like myself. It provides an affordable, a flexible, and inclusive mode of transportation that really does make a difference. I also want to say how excited I am to test out these new features on the buses, with the wider ramps and the additional flip-up seats, because again, it's really about making the ease of access that much better for New Yorkers with disabilities. I also just wanted to conclude on two things. One, just want to take a moment to say rest in peace once again to our dear friend and colleague, Edith Prentice. It was an honor to serve with her, to know her, and I've learned a lot from her. So, Edith, we miss you. And I also just want to say once again how proud I am to be a member of the Advisory Committee for Transit Accessibility, where we are advocating to achieve the goal of an accessible, fully transit Paris system. We can do this. Let's make this happen. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. And now, our last speaker. Really, you see him at every MTA event that happens out here. You see him and his family as part of our mass force. Chris Crump, it is a pleasure to introduce you up to the podium and to say publicly thank you. As we celebrate the 31st anniversary of the ADA, I cannot tell you how much we rely on you, your voice, and your participation in all the conversations of what accessibility should look like at the MTA, what it really looks like today, and where we're all trying to get to. So thank you, Chris.
And thank you, Q. And good morning, everyone. Happy birthday, ADA 31. It is a great day because we are continuing advocating for this, and especially with the R211. We are advocating for ramps and elevators, new buses, and especially new accessorized vehicles, but we still continue advocating. That's what we have to still do today, from now until the end. And I also want to say to Edith Prentice up there, if I don't say her, she might hit me with lightning. Edith was a strong advocate and always says to everyone, keep advocating for more accessibility train stations, ramps, and more accessibility buses. So we still need to continue doing that from now to the end of time and keep advocating for the newer trains. As the R211 is right behind us, I am very excited to see a new train that I can get on and see the signage so I know which letter train is coming down the road, especially with the newer buses for accessibility. My mother, who uses a walker, but guess what? We will have more access to get on safely, and we will get on more safely and continue advocating. And Q and ACTA, we will continue. And for Edith, rest in peace, my friend up there. We will miss you, but we will continue. Thank you, everyone. Happy ADA 31.
Thank you, Chris. So, before we get onto the new features that we're celebrating here today, we want to open it up for Q&As with the press. And if I could have Demetrius and Craig come up.
Thank you. Hi, a question for either and or Q, Demetrius. I know people who use wheelchairs when they ride the subway, one of their big complaints is the gap between the platform and the train car. Does the design of the new R211s address that, make it easier for people with walkers or people who use wheelchairs to board the train?
So those are changes that we'd have to look at on the stations themselves. The cars are not designed to do that. It's really to focus on the onboard of customers, the ride, and the comfort within the train itself.
Q, do you have anything to add? Or?
No. What we're seeing here today is a new new changes, new features to the interior of our subway cards. The accessibility that you're speaking of is on the station, and as we enhance stations, as we repair and build new ones, you'll see those gaps being diminished and creating a flush transition onto those cards. Today, what we're seeing here does not address that.
And then question for Craig, please. Come Thursday, August 1st, are you going to be the interim New York City Transit president?
So, I mean, I'm not going to speculate on anything. I think, today we're here to celebrate the 31st anniversary of ADA, and to talk about to that particular topic, I think it would be disrespectful, but I appreciate your question.
How about the taxi program? I know a lot of people complain they can't get a taxi driver to pick up the app request on people who need paratransit trips. Any headway on that? What can you say about that problem?
Sure. So, I mean, we have been having our challenges around, the use of, yellow and green taxis. I think the current, this past board cycle, the board approved our enhanced broker, award, the contract. So we're going to expand the pool of vehicles that'll be offered, that'll be available to us. We went from 2 vendors to 4. We think that'll help significantly with that. The taxi and limousine industry, much like, many other industries across the nation, are really struggling right now. And, but we do, I am going to be working closely with my partner here, Q, on, next phase of e-hail. And we'll have more to say soon. But thank you.
Great, thank you all. Let's check out these new digs, guys. Hey, Craig, can we start on the bus?